We've got a video from Metatron here about Destiny in response to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, I would like to preface this video by saying that Metatron, in general, as far as I can tell, does not give political opinions. His interest does not seem to really be in politics. He seems to be mostly interested in history, in logic, in reason, and these types of things. And that is usually the perspective from which I see most of his responses. And the fact that he's got this video about Destiny and he's got a previous video about Hassan about political takes kind of shows just how far the impact of Kirk's assassination has spread. It's spread to what I would say normies. And I would consider Metatron, forgive me for this, but I would say he is essentially a normie. He is not a terminally online person who's made politics their religion or their overriding hobby. He is someone who has his own interests and hobbies, and those are the things that he cares about. And as much as they are influenced by politics, he's willing to talk about them. But otherwise, if people keep out of it, he doesn't care. He doesn't matter. The fact that now he is making these videos about politics and politics commentators kind of means that, unfortunately, his assassination, Kirk's assassination, has recruited a bunch of people. And I say unfortunately because I would love to live in a world where in which most people could just divorce themselves from politics and say, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I would prefer to live in that world. Unfortunately, we don't.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. You know how a few days ago I made a video dedicated to talking about Hassan Piker? Well, today we've got another one, as you know, and this video is dedicated to Destiny. Now, whatever you may think about Destiny's ability to speak, debate, positions, rhetoric, political analysis is all completely irrelevant. Because
I agree. I kind of actually agree. I liked him for his ability to debate. That was what I was interested in. That's what kind of recruited me to watching his videos. I can't say that I ever agreed with most of his opinions, but I liked the way in which he presented them. I liked the way he was kind of, the pure logic person. It impressed me. It really did. And unfortunately, that has now, well, maybe not unfortunately, perhaps fortunately, he has shown that that is not the case. That's not the person that he is. Those are not the principles that he lives by. He is as ideologically driven as anyone else is. He just decided to present his opinions in that usually hyper-logical fashion to, appeal to people.
Because as it was the case with Hassan Piker, he too has crossed multiple lines. I used to watch his debates sometimes. I watched him debate Andrew Wilson, I watched him debate Ben Shapiro, and in general I enjoyed listening to positions from both sides in order for me to maintain an open mind and seeing how people counter arguments that otherwise you would only hear within echo chambers. However, I completely stopped watching him after he made fun of the firefighter who lost his life
Agreed, ditto, did the same.
During President Trump's assassination attempt. At that point, I thought that Stephen Bonnell had reached his new low, his lowest point, but boy was I wrong. It seems like that similarly to Piker Boy, Destiny has also been calling for political violence for a while and appears to have had no repercussions when it comes to possible deplatforming or even legal procedures when it comes to that so far. Watch.
I'm ready for the great cleansing, dude.
Cleansing?
The cleansing.
What cleansing?
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
Are you gonna be out in the streets with your Glock?
Maybe. I gotta go back to Nebraska and grab it.
You genuinely do hate conservatives, don't you?
I would like to live in a world where someone could say something just as spicy as that, and everyone would say, well, it's somebody blowing off steam, whatever. Obviously, freedom of speech has almost never really included stuff like, calls for violence and incitement to violence. But again, we don't live in a world where in which if someone on the other side had said similar things, they would have faced no repercussions.
Very much so. Like I've moved full on to like the political violence level, or the real violence level, when it comes to conservative people. Yeah, I think they need to be like excised from my fucking country. I think they are demonstrably fucking evil people by any moral system that most people would use.
Yeah, you instead are a saint.
And then I just hate them because they tend to destroy the outcomes related to this country, which is what I'm concerned with. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a topic I'm not yet sort of ready to touch.
Conservatives have been disgusting for years, which is why I don't give a fuck about anybody that winds up at any of these rallies and gets shot or whatever the fuck, okay? Because they had no problem making fun of Paul Pelosi. The entire world would be better off if these people were permanently removed from these platforms. Like, there is no downside and only upside to see people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool never be allowed to publicly broadcast their opinions ever again. It's exclusively bad stuff that happens. Conservatives have been
I mean, and again, this is kind of my point that I made in other videos, which is we don't live in a free speech society, because that has happened to other conservative figures. If you're going to be sad now that it is being applied to everyone, everyone now has the tool of cancel culture. Everyone now has access to this self-defense armament of, speech. You are just being not only a hypocrite, but it's like, I don't even care if you're being a hypocrite. It's just, no, it's not going to happen anymore. You're just, this is the world you made. You're living in it now. You wanted this. I hope you enjoy being, on the other side of the equation.
I think you have been disgusting for years. The logical idiocy of trying to tell us that laughing and making fun of Pelosi's husband's situation is horrific and ending up doing the same thing. Hypocrite. Of course, making fun of what happened to Pelosi is wrong, was wrong, should be condemned, but you did the same thing, so you are no better than the people you say you hate. You should hate yourself now. There are plenty of people in this world who have never made fun or laughed at someone else's misfortunes. You are not one of them. So what happens? This is of course just the tip of the iceberg. Let's have a look at what kind of posts he has produced after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, shall we?
I'd really rather we didn't, because there's no way it's good.
For instance, there is this clip. During a Piers Morgan Uncensored, the following statement was made. Stop calling everyone you disagree with Nazis. There is a real world out there, and your words can make people pick up guns.
And this is perhaps the other important point here, which is by using these labels, which are very much inciting, the point's been made before by other people, not just me, which is if someone actually was a Nazi, someone actually was a fascist, someone actually was enacting policies or trying to push certain things that are so horrible and evil, it would be almost your duty to stop that person by potentially any means possible. Certainly, as long as they're not in a position of power or whatever, you could debate them, you'd be fighting against them, you'd be doing everything you could. But as I've said with Charlie Kirk, he's winning the debate. He's won the debate. So the people on the left have felt that. They felt that, they're losing their cultural stranglehold, and therefore the only way to fight against these fascist, Nazi, evil people is no longer debate, no longer public policy, no longer politics. Now it is only violence. That is the only recourse left to them, because we have to fight these horrible, evil people. And I think a lot of people are now, unfortunately, wising up to the fact that they're calling people Nazis, not to shut down the conversation, but to potentially get them killed.
I agree, 100%. What does Mr. Bonnell say in response to that? You know what actually legitimizes widespread violence? ? The President of the United States constantly reminding people that the 2020 elections was fraudulent. Close quotes. The words spoken, the claims made by the President of the United States do not legitimize any form of widespread violence.
Clearly
and this
not.
type of mentality that causes outcomes such as what happened to Charlie Kirk. And mind you, this post was made 23 hours ago, which means after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. No. Whatever statement made by the President...
And that also does kind of, I mean, he is essentially, if we're going to be logical about this, he's saying, hey, this is justifying widespread violence. The president is reminding people that the 2020 election was fraudulent. That is kind of destiny than giving tacit approval to more violence against Trump. Because he's saying this, he's saying, yeah, it's justifying it. He's justifying violence against it. That's a bit of a leap, but not really. There is a logical through line there.
That the United States legitimizes you to use your words to disagree or make debunking videos if that's what you want to do. That's what it legitimizes you to do. I guess you could...
Yeah, words legitimize words.
Strike, as long as you keep it peaceful, but that's it. What else did he post? Let's check this one on his page.
I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually a Satan spawn, but he's very, very strategically minded. I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually a Satan spawn, but he's very, very strategically minded. I hate Charlie Kirk. I think he's actually...
Right. Charlie Kirk is a Satan spawn, according to... And somehow CNN showed that. Absolutely, CNN showed this tolerance. I am sure that the left is gonna be packed of new people moving from the center, thinking, man, you know what? This is what I really want. You convinced me now that you... Yeah. This is exactly the 12th of September. 12th of September. And what he has to say about it? Make a joke and change it into was. That's why you're...
Okay. Hang on. What did he say here? All right. Yeah, he literally still holds this opinion, and he does make it into a joke. He changes the tense. Yeah, I mean, the kind of celebratory aspect of this is the things that you've seen from Destiny. And again, I mean, you saw it with the Trump assassination attempt where the guy was killed. His response to it, probably a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but probably also he really felt this way, which was there's one less voter in Pennsylvania who's going to vote for Trump. That was something that he probably, I think, actually really felt. He, was a little tongue-in-cheek about it. He thought it was a joke as well. He thought it was funny. He thought it was edgy. But he probably actually really thought that. He probably actually thought, yeah, you know what? This is actually a good thing. One less person voting for my political opponent. I don't think he cares about people. And there is something to be said for not giving people like that any credence, any benefit of the doubt that the reason they hold these political opinions is because they want human flourishing to the greatest degree. They seem to just want political victories or power, their side to win, to dominate others. And if it means that people die, that, humanity does not benefit as a whole, they're okay with it. Because these thoughts and actions and words do not seem to suggest that this person is a pragmatic but benevolent actor. They seem to be a selfish actor who is only interested in their side's victory, as opposed to, I think my view helps the most people, and I care about people more than I do anything else. If you were to convince me or you were to show me that your approach is better for more people, I am agnostic as to the ways in which it will work, as long as it works. He's kind of demonstrating that that's not the case.
Make a joke and change it into was. That's why you're these people are the enemy of the left. before being the enemy of the right. They are the reason so many centrists are turning right-wing, and they are the reason why so many moderate lefties are turning centrist.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong.
No, it's completely true. It's completely accurate that this is, again, even if you were just to say purely tactically, if that's the only thing you care about, which I don't know if you can at this point. I think as a human being, you have to kind of, when you're confronted with, this video of, this man being murdered in front of his wife and children and the circumstances around it, if you don't feel something, you have essentially excised your soul. You have somehow become bereft of a fundamental human quality, which is the ability to feel compassion for other people. And the fact that Destiny has not, as far as I can tell, demonstrated any of that does mean that I don't know if I will ever care about any of his opinions ever again, even if they are well reasoned, because they are coming from a place that is inhumane. And I think a lot of people are now going to disregard his opinion on leftist politics. They're losing people because if it comes from the mouth of Destiny, even if you would agree with the, argument, you'd go, yeah, I agree with the argument, but it's coming from Destiny. He's abhorrent. I disagree. In the same way that, 20 years ago, if a KKK member in a full garb were to spout a completely rational, reasonable opinion on anything, you'd go, okay, I disagree with that. If they were to say the sky is blue, you'd go, no, it's green. Screw that. I don't want to agree with a KKK member. This is essentially what Destiny and like Hassan and these people are doing now. All the people that are celebrating on TikTok his Charlie Kirk's death, gleefully smiling that he's dead, you are the new KKK. Everyone who views that is going to go, I want nothing to do with you. Whatever your opinion is, I've got the opposite. So you're not doing yourself or your side any favors.
Of course, he made more videos about it. Let's have a look. Is he being at least basically decent? I'm not asking for him to like Charlie Kirk.
Of course not.
That would be a lie, clearly. So I appreciate honesty. But what is he saying? Is he being decent? Decent and Destiny are two Ds you will never see together anywhere. He says, don't apologize for Charlie Kirk's death. You gotta be joking. His body was still warm and his wife is still grieving, and this is what he does. And by the way, he was mocking his wife as well, as she was like kneeling in front of the casket crying, and he was mocking her. This guy is vile. This guy is anything and everything he accuses the opposite side to be. So whenever this guy sees someone vile on the other side, which of course exists, vile people exist everywhere. There are vile people in my religion, Christianity. That doesn't make Christianity wrong. It just makes the people who are within Christianity that happen to be vile, vile. And this is what people like him are doing. They take the full group and they apply the worst rhetoric from a single bad apple onto the entire group, and then they say their call to actions for violence. This is the difference. This is an important aspect that needs to be underlined. Do not take bad apples and apply them to everyone. Take the bad apples and hold them accountable. But he says,
I entirely agree, especially because if you do widen it out and apply it to everyone, you're going to hit a bunch of innocent people, which is bad for those innocent people who I have sympathy for. And it, of course, also, again, if we're thinking tactically, it looks bad for the side that, did it. If you are accusing an innocent person, if you destroy their lives, it looks really bad for the people that did that. Not only is that innocent person's life ruined, but now your side looks like mean, callous monsters for doing this. So don't do it. I know people are angry now. It's good. It's understandable, but you need to be, better. You need to be looking forward and you need to be holding yourselves to these principles, which I know you hold, you know, or at the very least, I hope you do.
Don't apologize for Charlie Kirk's death. Excuse me, what? First of all, who is asking to apologize? Look at the mental manipulation there. No one is asking someone who didn't do anything to apologize. However, if there is someone like you who has been constantly pushing for violence onto people you disagree with, yes, you should apologize, but you won't because you wanted this. He said it, he stated it. He said this is what he wanted. This is the America he wants to live in. An America where people cannot freely express their ideas without the fear of being gunned down like animals. This is the America he wants, which is why he's now doubling down and saying, don't apologize. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're not. You're right.
Tell me my analysis is incorrect.
This sounds like a bad thing to say. This sounds like a bad thing to say, and people don't like to think of it this way, but
It is a bad thing to say.
the reality
It
is
is.
there are like 4 different worlds that we can live in, and it relates to like this concept of like a prisoner's dilemma. In the prisoner's dilemma, I think a lot of people talk about this. I don't know how many people are aware of how it actually works, but for a prisoner's dilemma, the issue with it is it's a
Who speaks faster, XQC or Destiny? Enunciation. If you want, I can give you some diction lessons, Destiny. Since I am, after all, a professional language teacher, you need to learn to enunciate.
paradoxical setup kind of where there is
I think XQC probably speaks faster, but way less intelligibly. Destiny, I can usually understand what he's saying. That might just be the accent on XQC's part, though.
a positive outcome for 2 different players. However, both players basically become incentivized using logic to take the worst outcome, basically, for collectively. So you have 2 different people who are caught, and the 2 people who are caught are being interrogated by the police. And then the question is do you cooperate with the police and rat out your friend, or do you not cooperate with the police? I shouldn't be using cooperate lyrics. Or do you not work with the police and then you cooperate with your friend? That's technically how it's supposed to be phrased, right? Okay, we'll say prisoner 1 cooperates.
Okay, I don't care about this.
Yeah,
also
no.
because, and then people tell me I use word salads.
There is a worse world than this one here. We're just pretending that it is. The violence against each other. Civility.
Yeah.
Okay. This is where we kind of want to be.
Yes.
All right. We want to be.
Oh, well, you don't. We do.
Yeah,
You want violence on the streets.
you do. Yeah.
So no.
You want civility as long as your side is the one in charge of all of civil society. Otherwise, all comers.
You don't want civility. Don't put we.
Yeah.
You and I are not the same.
Here where things are civil. All right. Meaning we're not killing each other
Right.
or having a bad time enacting violence against each other. This would be like ideal. This is a good
Yeah.
world. Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, at best, we're in this world. Okay.
Which you created.
Nobody wants to say this, but the problem is that
Yes.
this here is not the worst world. We're just pretending that it is. Okay.
Of course. So
The reason why it doesn't make sense for Democrats to disavow over and over and over again when Republicans won't do it is because there is a worse world for this. And the worst world is
I would like to underline, not to interrupting too much, but I would like to underline. Did you see what he's doing? Democrats are disavowing, so the whole group are saying violence bad, but Republicans are not doing that. Did you not see the wave of Democrats and liberals that had been specifically laughing and giggling?
Yeah. And that is, generally speaking, what people are on the right. That is what they are decrying. Because the assumption is, by the outpouring of emotion, the violence is bad. The violence is already disavowed simply because of the fact that you've got tears on your face when you're confronted with it. You go, yeah, it's bad. I think it's bad. Of course I think it's bad. Do you not see the emotional response that I have to it? I don't need to explicitly disavow, and I'm sure plenty of people have and said, yeah, this is bad. Obviously it's bad. Not only is it bad because I don't agree with political violence, but, my friend was killed. Yeah, I didn't know Charlie Kirk, but a lot of the people who are, making comments about this stuff did. So of course it's bad.
for Charlie Kirk's death, and I found some TikTokers who specifically asked, as a call to action, now go and do Charlie's children.
Or husband
wife.
Gold, his wife.
Is he out of his mind? The reality is, because I'm the one who tells that this is a political manipulator, I tell it how it is. The reality is that there are some people that condemn violence, usually the overwhelming majority, and then there are people who want violence. However, what happened in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination and the aftermath, you are probably a liberal and you're watching this and you're saying, no, I don't want that. I don't want violence. I'm against violence. I didn't like Charlie Kirk, but I'm against violence. Great. I never said all liberals. He's the one who speaks in full groups. I don't. I'm saying there is a certain number of people that are specifically celebrating, laughing, giggling, and that is causing a strong reaction on the right.
That is true. That is what I would say, and I think most people would probably agree with this. The violence, Charlie Kirk's assassination itself certainly would have an outpouring of emotions. Absolutely. And there would be some result from it. But the things that I see people being really upset with is not his death, especially if they didn't know him, but the gleeful response. The fact that people were very happy about it, they were justifying it, they were going, he deserved it. He had it coming. Not only did he have it coming, I'm glad he got it. And I hope it happens to more people. It was the same thing with Trump, where they were like, oh man, it's like, I'm upset with this. I'm not upset that he, faced political violence. I'm upset that he didn't get killed. I'm upset that he missed. That was certainly, Destiny's response. Absolutely it was. Not, oh God, we can't do political violence. It was like, no, go to the range more often, get more accurate. Aim for center mass. You don't want to be going for a headshot. That was his response.
Now, are there some people on the right that are pushing it too far? Yes. If someone on the right says, now we need to retaliate off Destiny, it's wrong.
Absolutely it is, and don't do it. I want nothing to do with it. You are wrong. Reflect. Pray on it. Whatever it takes. That is wrong. It is not the right move to make. Don't do it.
And I will call it out. That's not the way to do it. But let's not pretend that the same level of laughing and giggling happened when the Democratic senators were offed. I didn't see these thousands and thousands of conservatives, particularly kids, going around saying, we got this person in the neck. We got this person in the neck. I didn't see that. And if there were some, which is why it is absolutely abhorrent that now is going to pretend as if all liberals want no violence, but all Republicans never say that. You're out of your mind.
Yeah.
You're out of your mind. This is why centrists turn right.
I'll call it genocide. I mean, you can put whatever you want here. Genocide, absolute violence, one-sided firing squad, whatever, execution.
Right.
There is a worse world than this one here.
We all know that.
And that worst world is one side enacting violence.
Of course.
And the problem is that the Republican rhetoric is pushing us in that direction. Where the Republicans want to push us here, right? Towards a Dem utter loss. And they do that by already trying to say that we are here, right? You've heard the Republicans say over and over again, it's all left-wing violence, it's all left-wing violence, it's all left-wing violence. And they do that as a call to their own side that they need to respond with violence.
And the way to prove them wrong, if that's what you want to do, is to condemn the shooting of the children, the Christian children, by the way, that were killed by someone who clearly wasn't a Republican. I think it's obvious. And then also this Charlie Kirk's assassination. You do not have the moral ground if you laugh. It's one of the two. You got to choose. I would have respected Democrats if they had said, and I do respect those Democrats that have been condemning this, but a lot of you guys are laughing about it, so you lose the moral ground. Be angry at those people on your side that are laughing about this. You included. You laughed. You said you were gonna make fun of the firefighter. You were the one who pushed the people in your audience to now go around and laugh. So you lost the moral ground. You want to regain it? Condemn the violence, but don't make a video saying don't apologize for Charlie Kirk's death.
So
and I mean, maybe we'll get to it in this video, but the response that I saw from Destiny on this was essentially, you shouldn't do it because it makes you look weak. It makes you look weak. It is politically inconvenient to say you're sorry about it, to say that it's bad. Gavin Newsom, who I'm not sure in this video, but you know, Destiny says he's weak for saying he disavows the violence. If you're not disavowing the violence, you're kind of tacitly supporting it. You know, if you're not calling it out as a bad thing and you're saying I disagree with Charlie and these types of things, you are to a degree co-signing it. You're kind of, you know, not explicitly, but this is a clearly horrible, evil act. You should be disavowing it. You should be.
Reason why I'm not sympathetic to people saying we need to turn down the temperature. Well,
Look.
just because the other side isn't doing it doesn't mean we can't. No, we're not in the worst world right now. This world, right, which is this part of the prisoner's dilemma box, this world is preferable right here to this world.
You see what he's doing? Once again, mental manipulation. It's as clear as day. He's giving you an answer that is correct. Yes, the world with violence is preferable to the world with genocide. That's correct, but it's unrelated. That's what he does. So he says something, and you listen to it, and you're like, well, yeah, I agree with that. But it has nothing to do with, oh, that's why we shouldn't call for stopping violence or lowering temperature. Do you see how unrelated the two things are? And he's doing it on purpose. He's saying what he wants to say, which is the message, don't tone down the violence. That's what he's saying. And then, because people who are decent, left or right or center, are going to be like, well, no, we should tone down the violence. What are you on about? And then he's going to say, but no, because it's preferable to have this world over this one, isn't it? And then people are going to be like, yeah, I mean, sure, it is preferable. No, civility is preferable, you liar.
Yeah.
Or this world.
Yeah, and you're not moving towards civility. You're moving towards either violence or, you know, this genocide, absolute violence, whatever. You're moving towards one of those two. You're not moving towards civility. You're not potentially, you know, advancing a position that moves you more towards civility, which would be everyone disavowing violence. Even if they don't believe it, the fact that you're saying it is moving the culture in general, society, towards civility and away from violence.
Right? And the one-sided calls for just us, we just need to disavow. No, I'm sorry. The President of the United States, without having any idea at all who the actual shooter is, has already blamed one side.
Because there was a bullet which said, catch this fascist. Which is the side that calls the other fascist?
Yeah, I don't think there was any real reason to say there was no possible information, there was no possible inkling that was reasonable that anybody could have had that this person was a leftist or not. We needed more information. I understand that. I understand we want to be completely 100% sure before we make any of these accusations, but also there was some information that did give pretty decent inklings on which side that they were.
Fascist. As someone who receives that insult constantly, be real, Destiny. Be honest.
For real. I second.
Once again, I'm honest on my end. I'm not saying all Democrats do this. I'm not saying all liberals are like this. I've seen a lot in my comments that say I'm left-wing, but it's horrible. I didn't like what Charlie Kirk said, but this is unbelievable, and I strongly... Great. That's a good lefty.
Yeah.
Differently from you. You instead demonize the entirety of the other side and then add calls to violence. This is the difference between me and him. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support?
I would second that. I mean, I think he's a good guy. Yeah, definitely go ahead. If you've got the money, if you've got the ability, if you like his stuff, go check him out. Metatron, I will attempt to put the link in the bio if I remember. If I don't, please let me know in the comments, because I'm sometimes an idiot about that stuff and I'll forget about it. But again, as I said, I think Metatron is, you know, essentially apolitical. I'm sure he does have a political opinion, but any of the videos that I've seen have not been about politics. They have been about, truth. They've been about reason. They've been about, historicity, the truth of, the matter of, the Roman Republic or something like that. That's what he's concerned with. That's what he's interested in. And as much as politics tries to change it or obfuscate the truth or manipulate it for political reasons as opposed to truthful ones, historical ones, reasons of accuracy, he objects to it. And apparently that makes him right wing. And again, this is pushing the, I don't want to say temperature up, but this is pushing the window of like acceptable targets for horrific reprisals away from, people that are like actively engaged in real violence, and therefore defending yourself against that is understandable to everybody. To, everybody who is using right-wing speech is enacting violence on other people because that speech is hurting certain marginalized groups. And then we would say, all right, anyone who's right-wing is fascist. And then we're going to say anybody who disagrees with us politically is right-wing. And if anybody who disagrees with us is right-wing, that means they're fascist, that means they're enacting violence, that means that they are justifiably targets for physical violence. That is not good. I do not agree with it. I think it is, I shouldn't say I think, it is wrong and foolish and stupid and dangerous. And everybody, right or left, should be able to understand that and should disavow it. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Good luck in all your endeavors. I'll say farewell for now.